diagnostically, the bore diameter is how you date pipe stems. The bigger the bore diameter, the older the pipe stem. Because as technology improved, they were able to drill with a more precise, smaller drill. Funny fact, some college student somewhere devised a way of taking modern drill bits and matching up certain size drill bits with the bore size. So let's say I have a 3/4 drill bit, and it's not the right number, so don't quote me on this. But 3/4 relate to 17 something. So in our lab, we have drill bits, and we just poke and see what drill bit fits, and that's how we date pipe stems. That was a great thesis for that student that is still used today in practice.
So what are they made of?
This white material is kaolin clay, K-A-O-L-I-N. It's just a type of clay. If you find orange ones, which I don't think we have an example of here, but an orange one would be just a different type of clay, but a more low clay. A lot of times when you see orange, you see that's more hometown production or Native American pre-contact, whereas these are probably coming from England in a box.
Oh. Can I hold it just in case we come across something like this?
Oh, sure.
Oh, that's neat.
These are, you can touch them. All the artifacts are out. If it's in a bag, just please be careful to get it back in the bag. This is an example of something we found in the backfill pile. The topsoil that we removed but didn't investigate. Well, here's a pretty much large portion of a bottle that probably dates to about the Civil War time. This was found down at 281 where we have the Civil War component. So this is an example of artifacts that are still in the backfill pile that we have yet to retrieve. It was in the topsoil, so it was displaced through plowing, so we can't identify exactly where it came from, but in the general area we know. So just an example of that. And while we do have the Civil War artifacts that came from the park that weren't found on site, we do have one that we found in the New South Corporation that did the archaeology. It doesn't have. This was a cannonball recovered.
Wow. Better than the other one.
So this was a cannonball recovered down there at the Civil War component, the site that's currently underwater, so we're not really showcasing it. But this was found, and it was a very exciting day. There's a group of us out there, and we kind of drew straws to see who would excavate it. Obviously you put the metal trowels away and got wood tools out. Obviously you don't want to spark or anything around these. These type of cannonballs, there's two forms of them. One is a solid shot, which we believe this is, and then the other one would have had a fuse. If you look at Dan's table, he does have an artillery round that does have a fuse, although a different kind of model of it, more missile type. We determined as best we could that this was a solid shot. We determined it probably was safe to move at that point. When it was in the ground, it was surrounded by wet, moist material. So it wasn't dry, it was very moist and wet. Once we got it out and drew straws, who had to move it, we put it in a 5-gallon bucket filled with water for like over 3 weeks, just to be sure that everything penetrated could get wet. And if you look over this, we didn't find any indication of a fuse. The fuse would have been different metal, it would have corroded differently. We don't see that here. There is corrosion all over, but it just looks natural to this metal of a solid shot.
Is this from the Civil War?
Yes.
Okay.
It came out of a Civil War encampment. Okay. So unless these guys found this from the Rev War and were historically conscious and wanted to keep it, we do believe this is Civil War related. It does have weight to it. It is heavy. If you would like to try and pick it up, that's fine. Don't pick it up more than this off the table in case you drop it. Just to get an idea of how heavy these things are. And maybe when the Confederacy retreated, it was something that got left behind because it was heavy and they didn't have time. But that was a Civil War artifact we have recovered that didn't go to Georgia. I don't know why they didn't want to, put it in a car and bounce it down the road. But
Keep Virginia history in Virginia.
It was funny because we were excavating this, and to make the story complete, I'm originally from New York. I came down in 2005, so I was with some people who were from the South and digging this out, and they were joking that if it did explode, that the Confederacy would have one more Union kill. So luckily for me, it did not, and we have it retained now. There are methods, reverse electrolysis. If you've ever been to the Mariners Museum, they're pros at it, they know what they're doing. I don't know if you could find anybody who'd want to undertake this one though. You know, putting it up, and so I think it'll stay like this. At the Virginia War Museum, we have examples of this non-corroded. So it might turn into an example of before or after in the ground excavation kind of thing. So that's what we're hoping to do with all these artifacts, is inform the public and display them in some way or the other. But yeah, that was a fun day out at the site. I don't know if I told this joke to you guys or the other group, but how my mom was amazed that, you know, my profession is basically I dig a hole and then I go fill it back in. And that's been a family joke. So when we uncovered this in the ground, I put my head right up to it and smiled and took a picture and sent it to my mom and say, hey, look what I'm doing. So she had her natural mom worries, like, what are you doing? But yeah, that was like a fun day out at the site. And then again, we do have projectile points from pre-contact Native American period. So this is a smaller point. You can see the base is down here where a stick would have gone in to secure it, and then we're missing the tip. So more commonly these are referred as bird points. They do have individual names, but generally the small points are deemed kind of bird points.
And what, because they would be hunting birds?
Small game, yes.
Okay.
You could probably take out a rabbit or something with this, but I guess bird point sounds good. From the limited research we have done on this, we believe it's a LaCroix point, or what they have designated a LaCroix point, and the date range is 8500 to 7500 BCE.
Wow.
So, yeah, just get it. We can take these out. Obviously, we don't want to lose these or drop these, but
It's heavy. It made a noise.
yep, that's quartz. And then in another
Where would they have
example,
found the quartz?
locally, just find the
okay.
quartz. It's not the greatest material. Obviously, you would like a chert or you know, something that's more found in the West Coast. But if you don't have any trade routes, you're going to use what's available.
Because I didn't know there was quartz in the coastal plain like that.
And then we have this one, which is just the top half of one.
Those rocks like in Grandview. At least.
Now remember I was talking about the Coke and Pepsi bottles, about the projectile point? So this was found out there along with that modern day stuff. So someone grab that bag real quick. So the base is broken off. So that makes it very hard to identify projectile points. A lot of times with projectile points you're looking at the ridge, whether it's both ridges or one, again on the sides, and then the base. It's a really good classification tool to use to identify these. So without the base, my best bet as what this one was is Moro Mountain Type 1. It's just what they call that type. And that date range is 7100 to 6700 BCE.
So there was probably some trade routes from tribe to tribe.
Right.
Yeah. There probably were trading quartz from the mountains and stuff.
I'm probably trying to get that chert, you know, from the Midwest and stuff. But you know, it's like when the circus comes down, it only comes so often. If you lose it or you shoot and you can't find it. So that's a tobacco pipe sound.
Oh, okay. So if this is the James River, this must be connected to North Carolina. I mean, they put that bridge up, the James River Bridge. So this has to be the way in to North Carolina.
North Carolina? No.
Okay, so we just. Okay.
James goes up to Richmond.
Okay, because they put the bridge up for people to get by, but Native Americans didn't have a bridge, so they had to live
canoes.
There are
Right, they
rivers
had
and creeks
canoes
where they're highways.
But yeah, they made use out of the local stuff as much
trees
as
and everything,
possible.
okay.
And even after, like when we talk about bricks, if you could make bricks or you had a local brick maker, you would try and get them here instead of sourcing them from Williamsburg or Richmond, where they would have to take a trip down the water.
To get here. Oh,
So
okay.
if you can make bricks, if you can produce tools to get food, you're gonna use whatever you can. And just like this. This is a gunflint material. So this is a flint material. This is the material used on muskets to produce that spark to ignite the gunpowder. It's a stone. So So when it would hit the impact zone, it would produce a spark. And then, now this wasn't a piece that was put in a gun per se. This is more of a core piece that things were made off of. Or as we have an idea from the Facebook public, it could have been a strike stone for like just trying to get a spark going. Exactly. So this
Civil War artifact.
this could be Wartown related.
Okay.
Up into the Civil War. But this is something where there is local sources of this, but something this clean might have come from somewhere else. But you can find river, flint, and chert and use it. It's just more of a crude example.
Well, it's been transported by the rivers. So
Exactly, it's been brought down.
Yeah.
Instead of saying it's been brought down by the river. So
What does BCE mean?
before common.
era, sort of like BC.
Oh,
yeah, they just put the E on for air. Because at one point I think it was before Christ, right?
right, with
And
the
we've
E.
gone away from that before common era.
So how would you know, again, what the age of this is?
Just from prior research done, and obviously when they're finding these things and date ranges have been established, they're finding it on a known Native
Site.
American site,
I see.
which either has geological indicators of time and or they've done carbon dating.
Of that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times if you find these, you might be around a fireplace. Feel free to move that stuff around.
Is this a piece of this?
This is a piece of stoneware, salt glazed stoneware.
Put the artwork in there.
Yeah. This is more modern, but it is, you know.
Okay, but modern you mean it could be 1800s,
Correct,
1900s.
correct,
Good.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Just look really
Take a
old to
picture
us,
of you.
right?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, that was found actually in the previous investigations in the 90s. So I kind of use that as an example as well as a paperweight. So my things don't break.
Historical paperweight.
Wow.
Yes. Look at the artwork on there. No computer did that.
Nope, that was all, you know, hand done and
9,000 years old would be 9,000 years old, perhaps. I mean, that's just amazing.
it is, and those are the things I really get excited finding. Like when I found that bird point, I never found a bird point in my career because they're usually small and they usually break if they hit something. And like I was hooting and hollering out here. I'm sure the fishermen coming in heard me, but I was ecstatic that day.
I mean, if I was a Native American, I'd be hanging out right here on this point. This is like, you know, you can see who's coming and going, and you know, and it's also gorgeous, and the fish, and I mean, what's not to
the
love?
animals here, and like natural animals, the deer are always here.
Okay, this is first time.
Just some more information I can throw at you. Like this was the data recovery plan, but this also shows where they did GPR and magnetic gradiometer investigations. So it really shows that the whole property was investigated with technology before we chose where to dig. And we tried to really focus on those areas that would give us the greatest amount of
Granddaughter
information.
just went and collected a whole bunch of artifacts in here.
All right, well, I will say that if they're up here, they're probably from the demolition of the city barracks. So while they are an artifact, give it 100 or plus more years and it'll be an artifact.
Okay, so that's not a coin.
That looks like a washer to a nail or something. So they would have put that and then the nail in. These are modern things from the prison complex. So the oldest range of these artifacts would be 1920.
That's still pretty old. That's 100 years
Take it
old.
back to her Catholic school and you're gonna get a name in your research.
There you go, future archaeologist right there.
Those things, feel free to take a sample of. But anything within there, we can't take home. But yeah, these were probably related to the prison barracks and the demolition thereafter.